Welcome to OState Daily. Casey Porter here. So glad that you decided to tune in. Hey, fans, we have a lot to talk about. It was a crazy day inside Boone Pickens Stadium. Other than the fact that Tech actually figured out a way to win the game yesterday, Saturday being yesterday, it was just your typical Oklahoma State, Texas Tech high scoring. I mean, it reminded you of a game from 10, 15 years ago of the Big 12. There was a lot of good, and then there was a lot of OSU defense and Tech defense too. Tech defense, they can't stop the pass. We know that. Malaki Smith had a good day. I think everybody had to be impressed with him. We're going to talk about him quite a bit. Ollie Gordon, I think this was not just statistically, this was the best day of the year in terms of his style of running, his patience. I think one thing that's happened to him this year as the games have racked up one after the other, I think where his frustration is shown has not necessarily been in throwing his helmets and antics like that we've seen in the past. I think where his frustration has come in this year has been in just not being a patient runner, just running into the back of his offensive line, not being patient enough to allow holes to open. So I think he had his best day yesterday, and I've got a lot of examples of the way that some of these things went. Like, for instance, right here, I'm going to flip this over to the videos. Well, I guess I'm not going to. I thought I was going to there, but I thought I had videos set up there. Sorry. But anyways, I thought he was very patient yesterday. I thought he was a runner that found holes. The offensive line did a very good job. For the most part, I mean, there was a little bit of pin pull. There was a little bit of counter scheme. But for the most part, they just did a good job on their zone blocking scheme, taking good zone steps, double teaming at the point of contact, scraping to linebackers. So it was a good day for the offensive line. They also did a good job of picking up the blitz. And then I'll tell you another thing about Oklahoma State's offense. It was a tremendous day for all of the, whatever you want to call them, used to be called the Cowboy backs. Now they're tight ends, fullbacks, and H-backs. Jake Schultz, Josh Ford. Yeah, they were all just simply fantastic yesterday. And so Tyler Foster was also just absolutely awesome. And then I think just the game planning of Casey Dunn was absolutely terrific as well. I'm going to try to get these videos back up one more time right here so we can actually play some of these. Yeah, here, right here. Okay, so let me kind of give you an example of this. I'm going to back this up and show you. You know how I used to do the highlight videos. Instead of doing that, we're just going to see if we can play them all right here and see how this goes. All right, so right here, I've got Cole Birmingham right there. I've got him highlighted because I just want to kind of show you the zone blocking aspect of the way that Saturday went. And this was a pretty typical, see how he got his guy in front? Now, you don't have to be a Mack truck. You can see right there, Cooper also did a really good job. You don't have to be a Mack truck and drive your guy all the way down the field. Just turn your butt to the hole and pin your guy to the outside. We see right there also Joe Mahalski, who unfortunately had a couple of bad snaps, also made a good block. But again, right there, Preston Wilson, Joe Mahalski doing a great job on the double team, Jake Springfield blocking down. And then you see right there Cole Birmingham doing a great job of just positioning his feet and just kind of getting in the way of the defensive lineman. And then also one thing about this run too is watch Ollie Gordon. This is what I'm talking about. See how right here, see how patient he is? There is no really right here. The hole looks like it's right there. And I think in weeks past, what Ollie Gordon would have done with his just kind of impatience, he would have tried to bust right through there. He would have got tripped up and it'd have been a 1 or 2 yard gain. But watch his patience here. I'm going to back this up. Now watch how patient Ollie Gordon is, and then boom, hits the hole. And then once he sees the hole, he bursts through it and then turns on the speed. That is the run game that we have become accustomed to for Oklahoma State. That is the run game. Of course, last year mostly it was the gap scheme, but whatever blocking scheme you want up front. That's the type of Ollie Gordon. That's the type of patience. That's the type of hitting the right hole. That's the type of burst that won him the Doak Walker Award last year, and that's the type of Ollie Gordon that we have become accustomed to seeing. So that was a great play. I thought Ollie Gordon, again, for reasons just like that, it was the best day of the year for him. And then how about these types of plays right here? How about the flea flicker? How about back to Ollie Gordon? And then how about the pass to the playmaker? Right there, Rashad Owens. And I'm going to say it point blank, You can see the energy right there. Rashad Owens is a badass. Ollie Gordon, you see right there, he is a badass, okay? So, hey, Brennan Presley is awesome. What else can you say other than he is just an absolute stud? You can see right there, Des dribbling goes deep and takes the safety as you back that up. That's just a great schematical setup for Casey Dunn, who had just a wonderful day. Des dribbling, who had just a huge day. Watching him take the safety right here. See, he acts like he's going to block, and then he actually takes that safety with him. Once he takes that safety, now Rashad Owens is able to come all the way across the field and get wide open. And so kind of my point here with Rashad Owens and also Ollie Gordon. Those two dudes are emotional. They are absolute emotional leaders. And when you get Rashad Owens' competitive energy like this right here that you saw on the screen just a second ago, when you get him going, when you get his mojo going, and when you get the mojo of Ollie Gordon going, this offense then has an edge to it from a mental perspective, from a toughness perspective, from an energy perspective, and just a raising of the competitive level that it doesn't have. And I don't know why, but for some reason, Rashad Owens has just been overlooked time and time and time again this year, and he is a great player. He reminds me of Alonzo Mays. If you go back to my Tony Lindsay interview, Tony Lindsay said point blank that Alonzo would come back to the huddle and say, hey, just throw me the damn ball, right? And Tony would turn to him and he'd go, well, you got 4 guys on you. And Alonzo would say, I don't care. Throw me the ball. That's Rashad Owens. Just throw him the ball. Let him make a play. Let him post up. Let him use that big body. Let him use his good hands and let him make plays. And then let him be an emotional leader that gives your offense an edge alongside of also Ollie Gordon. So, hey, let's get a good chat going here. Let's get some people. Let's get some talk, some OSU football talk. I want to hear from you, and I want to hear what you have to say about the game yesterday and Oklahoma State. So it was a really, really, really well schemed. I'm just going to say this point blank. Here's what Oklahoma State fans aren't going to want to hear. Casey Dunn has had 2 games this year where he had a mobile quarterback, and either a mobile quarterback or a quarterback that the game plan was to be mobile. And that would be BYU, where you had Garrett Rangel. And then although Alan Bowman had to come in, Alan Bowman was used as Garrett Rangel's game plan, where Alan Bowman was asked to play a mobile type of quarterback, and he did a good job of it. So Casey Dunn has had 2 games this year where he's had a mobile quarterback to take the heat off of the run game, right? And in both games, the OSU offense has been really, really, really good. So whatever changes you think Oklahoma State needs to make, if you want to bring the stats in that, hey, this isn't just here or there, or he comes up with some great games, I can't argue with any of that. Especially if you want to dive into the OSU offense has been regressing year after year after year after year, and there's too many clunkers. I'm not going to argue with that. But here's what I'm going to say, and here's the thought process, or at least something to think about, right? Just think about it for a second, okay? To remove both of your coordinators, I mean, you're going out into the wilderness at that point. That is a tremendous amount of change to do all in 1 year, especially with a roster that's going to get turned over as much as the OSU roster is going to get turned over. And so I'll say this. I think Coach Nardo, I have my reasons. We're going to show all the highlights of the defense here in a minute. I have my reasons for thinking a lot of this isn't necessarily his fault, although he is the defensive coordinator. Doesn't matter. You can't do what Oklahoma State's defense did yesterday and just continue to score and then just give points right back to Texas Tech all day long. And just every time they have the ball in the second half, you can't have literally one of maybe the worst defense in all of Power 4 football. You can't do that and expect to continue to have your job at Oklahoma State, a school that has grown to having expectations, that wants to win Big 12 championships, that wants to be the best of this conference. So I think it's fairly safe to say that the first coordinator, if there's changes. Now, I'm going to say this again. This is going to be Mike Gundy's decision. There is nobody else that has leverage on Mike Gundy right now. I kept hearing about how all these people were going to stay away and they weren't going to show up. And, hey, it was a good crowd Saturday. And, by the way, congratulations to the Oklahoma State fans. I know the student section wasn't totally full, but it was the beginning of Thanksgiving break. And Oklahoma State has not won a conference game. The game from a overall perspective didn't mean anything, right? And so I understand the emptiness to the student section. They're way more volatile than the alumni who have spent thousands of dollars to go to these games, right? And then also the East and North End wasn't totally full either. But it was a way better crowd than I thought it was going to be. I just kept hearing that, hey, I'm not going to go. I'm going to stay home and protest to Coach Gundy and his comments and all of that. And I was just really, really pleased to see that there was that many people there. So I think until the administration, until the people in the pocketbooks actually see people not show up and see the money not show up, there is no leverage to have on Gundy, especially with his contract. You heard him say last night he's not going anywhere. And I'll say this, and I've said this several different times, Coach Gundy is very slow to make changes, and I think sometimes that's a really good thing. I think in today's climate of college football, it has not been. He has been slow to get with it in terms of modern-day football. He needs to get with it. But I'm going to say this, and you can disagree, and that's fine. Leave your comment on how you feel about it. I totally trust Coach Gundy to do what needs to be done for this Oklahoma State program moving forward, make the changes that he needs to make, the ones that he feels are best for OSU. He's always done it in the past. There's no reason to believe he won't do it in the future. So I thought, I have faith in him, and I'm just going to say this too. I think the best case scenario is if Mike Gundy does stay at OSU and then does figure it out. So, hey, what'd you think of Malaki Smith yesterday? I thought he was really, really good. I thought he was very, very poised. Des Stribling had a nice day today. You saw that little 7 route to Deshaun Stribling. Really nice pass. What I liked about their Stribling right there, just on that crosser, like a deep mesh route that OSU likes to run. One thing I really liked about Malaki Smith was, see right here, you have the rush honing in on him right here, right? So what we see with Alan Bowman is, Alan Bowman in this situation would throw off his back foot, he'd throw it straight up in the air, and it would be a jump ball. Instead, Malaki Smith, watch how he steps into the throw, he steps into it, and he moves forward through his throw. And because of that, he's able to get off a good enough throw to Deshaun Stribling to get it to him. Hey, and I said last week, here's another one. One aspect of OSU's offense, let's back that up and look at it again, that they really need is that they need that boundary receiver that can just go up and catch jump balls right there. And that was Deshaun Stribling Saturday. Did a great job of doing that. And when Oklahoma State can run that fade pattern and then also get big plays, then this offense takes an entirely new identity. There's a nice throw. And what I really like about this throw to Cameron Hurd, yes, it was kind of crazy looking, but watch how he threw this to this back shoulder right here. See how the defender is on the inside shoulder, and Malaki Smith throws it to the left shoulder or back shoulder of Cameron Hurd. So whenever he actually turns his shoulders to catch the ball, this ball is getting thrown away from the defender. See that right there? And then Cameron Hurd's able to turn around and catch the ball. I wasn't really super excited about the way that this play finished right here. I didn't think it was as dirty as other people did. I don't know what else a defender is supposed to do. I mean, this is football. The goal is to get him to the ground. And then this is just a great play by Coach Dunn, no doubt about it. So this is what's called a cloud corner right here, meaning this is a corner that has run support to this alley. So if you want to run to this way, the only guy you need to really clear out of the way is this corner right here. So they do that with the Brennan Presley motion right here. Watch Presley motion, and then the corner goes back to the middle of the field. And because of that, now you have just a wide open lane back to the right here. And that is now you have a GT pull as well. So now you've influenced the safety back to the middle field. Watch your guard and tackle both pull from the top right there. Boom, kick out that 9-tech and then climb back up on the linebacker, and it is to the house for Milwaukee Smith, who scored his first rushing touchdown of his career at Oklahoma State. That was just a well drawn up play by Casey Dunn, who, there's Preston Wilson. You can tell he's very fired up. There's Milwaukee Smith. You can definitely tell that the offensive line was fired up, but Casey Dunn had a great day calling plays for Milwaukee Smith, who executed very well. There's Brennan Presley again, just kind of dumping off over the middle, and that seems like a ho-hum play. But I'll tell you what, if you get spooked right here, right? Okay, you see the rush in front of you. You see right here, he is not leaning back like we've seen Alan Bowman do. If you get spooked and you flush and you don't dump it to Brennan Presley and you throw it away at 2nd and 10, get it to Brennan Presley. It's 2nd down and 6. That is a big 4 yards to keep you ahead of the chains. And then this was a huge one. I mean, 4th down and 2. If you want to know from a mental composure perspective what Milwaukee Smith is made out of, this is 4th down and 2. That ball is on the money. We saw Taylor Cornelius on that sprint pass and the 2-point conversion against OU, and Norman miss on that pass, right? That's an impressive play. And then down to Brennan Presley again. And so Milwaukee Smith, he had a day, I tell you what, very impressive. Again, we're not going to make too much out of it because he is a true freshman. Nobody has any film on him, and Texas Tech's defense gives up over 300 yards a game through the air. So it is what it is. I mean, we're not going to make a bigger deal out of it than it is, but I think everybody would have to agree that he had a really, really good day yesterday, and it was fun to see him play that well. So, hey, the H-backs. Let me kind of show you the H-backs here and the type of day they had. I'm going to cut this over. If I keep looking to my left, it's because I'm cutting the screen over. Okay, so we've got a fullback here. We've got 2 tight ends. This is Jake Schultz right here. That is Tyler Foster, and that is Josh Ford. So let's watch all 3 of them right here. See right here? First of all, we're gonna watch our tight end down here to the bottom, Tyler Foster. Watch him drive his man into the end zone. See him right there? Great block. Let's back that up. Now let's watch the fullback Jake Schultz do his job right here. Let's follow Jake Schultz. Watch this. Ka-pow! Boom, right there in the hole. Get in the end zone, young man, and that is 4th down and goal. That is something Oklahoma State had to have. And so watch Josh Ford now. Let's watch him to the top. Bam, right there. See those 3 blocks? That's what made that play. Ollie Gordon stretched over the goal line to get the ball in the end zone. And so the H-backs, here's another one right here. Jake Schultz right here in motion. Bam, kick that 9-tech out. And then also Josh Ford, he curls up and gets a huge block as well. So actually what happened here, this is interesting that you actually had these 2 guys switch positions. Usually Jake Schultz is the fullback and Josh Ford is the H-back, right? But Coach Gundy has it, or Coach Dunn actually dialed that up exactly opposite. So Jake Schultz is actually going to get the kick, and then Josh Ford's actually going to get the downhill block. Boom, right there. Okay, so let's back that up. Let's watch Jake Schultz. Let's watch him do a great job on this kick, right? Bam, right there. Did a great job. Now let's back that up and watch Josh Ford right here from the fullback spot. Ka-pow. Get up in that hole, Rodney Fields, and go to the house and get that touchdown right there, young man. And by the way, Rodney Fields is, I've said it many different times, he is going to be a special player at OSU. OSU has several young players. Jaleel Johnson on the defensive side, going to be a great player. I think Cameron Hurd's going to be good. All 3 of your young quarterbacks, I think, have the chance to be great players. And Rodney Fields, there are several players, young players in this Oklahoma State program that we need to figure out a way to keep them here, whatever that means. And Rodney Fields is definitely at the top of that list because he is really, really, really good. So I've gotten a warning that I can't play any more video the way that this goes. I may play one more defensive video just to kind of show. Actually, let me do this before we move on, and then we can actually chew on it together. So just kind of, here is the touchdown before half. And what I wanted to show you is that Oklahoma State actually blitzed right here, right? Okay, see, we blitz a safety, but we replaced that safety with Kendall Daniels right here. So it's not like you're leaving the middle of the field open. We're going to watch right here, Jeff Roberson drop back. Kendall Daniels is assigned to drop back. See, watch this. See how he's dropping back right there? So he is supposed to be that deep safety that's replacing the blitzing safety, but Kendall Daniels just doesn't pay attention. He lets Taj Brooks run right by him, and it's Katie bar the door. So really, as a defensive coordinator, I mean, Coach Nardo dialed up a blitz that got a big hit on the quarterback. He had a linebacker that was deep, and Jeff Robertson to play in front of the deep receiver. And then he also had Kendall Daniels playing center field, who is a guy that has played safety in the back. So there's just examples of, I don't know if you want to call that lack of effort or lack of execution or whatever you want to call it, but there was just a lot of just kind of decent drawn up scheme type plays that weren't executed whatsoever. And the two fourth downs, if you remember the one that Texas Tech, matter of fact, I'm going to go ahead and show you that and see how it happens here. Watch these fourth downs right here, okay? So here the one at the top is the one that actually we get stopped. If you notice right here, we actually lined up exactly the same in both of them. So it was not lined down differently, and it was not lined down wrong. The one at the bottom, we stopped. The one at the top, the Texas Tech made a great adjustment. Oklahoma State is in a cloud corner, meaning this corner has this run fit. But because we play so much man-to-man, that actually Corey Black gets run off right here. So watch Corey Black get run off right there. And because of that, we know we have now no outside support on that wide zone play of Texas Tech. So give Texas Tech credit for drawing up a play after they saw us stop their fourth down in that goal line type defense. When we came back out with that same goal line defense, they went wide instead of going up the middle, and they ran off our corner who was the only one who had support that way. So give Texas Tech credit for making an adjustment that off of something that they saw, but still, this is why I've been saying all year long, Oklahoma State has to stop playing all of this man coverage that is just so predictable and it's not disguised. So if the offense knows you're playing man coverage before the play ever starts, they're going to run off all the guys that are in man coverage and then run to the spots that are vacated by your defenders getting run off, just like we saw that happen to Corey Smith. So, I mean, it's one of those deals to where it's very frustrating to watch Oklahoma State play defense, no doubt about it. It is not something that has been good all year long. I'm actually looking at the video as I look down here, and I was trying to see if I could get that last fourth down play. Maybe right here I might be able to get it. Quarterback scramble right here. I'm going to get one more video on here. Hopefully it doesn't cut me off so we can continue to play video here. But right here, this is this last third down. So this is good. This is all a defensive coordinator can do. And what I want you to show you right here, we have a four-man rush. You have Kendall Daniels, and when this play starts, this H-back is 3 yards outside of Kendall Daniels. Keep in mind the play is going to go all the way over here. There is no way this H-back should be able to get in the eyes of Kendall Daniels and get him cut off from making a play over here. Jeff Roberson, as you see this play develop, watch Jeff. He is absolutely the spy on the quarterback right here in Baron Morton. And so right here, Jeff Roberson, so the Coach Nardo has a four-man rush, which has done a good job. He has a spy, and then he has a second player, maybe the most athletic player on the defense, that can clean up the quarterback as well. But look at our linebackers. Let me back this up, okay? Watch number 5, Kendall Daniels. Watch Jeff Roberson right here. They just get destroyed. I mean, that is a center on Jeff Roberson. That is an H-back on Kendall Daniels that was lined up 3 yards outside of Kendall Daniels, and both of them just get blown up at the point of contact, one by a center, one by an H-back that was lined up outside of linebacker. And because of that, Baron Morton scrambles and gets the first down. To be honest with you, as a defensive coordinator, there's just absolutely no way to draw that up any different. I mean, you had a spy, you had a four-man rush, you had every single receiver covered up, you had an extra player in Kendall Daniels for the quarterback or running back, whoever decides to threaten the box, and your linebackers just didn't make a play. I mean, they just got blown up. And that's kind of what's happened all year to OSU, is to where you've had situations to where you've had guys in position, but they didn't get off of blocks and they didn't tackle, or like the play that we just saw, they just got blocked and they shouldn't have. There's no way that a center should be able to snap the ball and then get all the way down on Jeff Roberson, who is the spy on a quarterback. There's no way a center – I love Jeff Roberson. He's one of my favorite players. He plays with a massive amount of energy. And so I hate to even be having this narrative, but you got to call it is what it is. I mean, on that play, there's no way that a center should have climbed on him and got to him the way that he did and kept him from stopping Baron Morton. There's no way that should happen, right? And so I have a hard time blaming that on a coach when that happens. Of course, if you have Nick Martin, that probably doesn't happen. There's no way that Kendall Daniels should get blocked on that play, right? And so, I mean, it's just it's frustrating. It is what it is. I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, though. None of that matters. When you are the defensive coordinator and your defense, as from a results perspective, has been this bad, it is all on you. So whether it's things are happening that shouldn't be happening, or whether guys are getting blocked that shouldn't be blocked, or whether guys are in position to make plays and just aren't making plays, or whether you're just actually calling bad plays, it doesn't matter. It is a situation to where it is still on you and something has to change. So, hey, we have a great crowd logging in. Roger Wynn says, no defense. I would definitely agree with that. So I was very pleased with the crowd, very pleased with the atmosphere, very pleased with the offense. Deshaun Stribling had a great day, right? Okay. Obviously, Rashad Owens had a great day, and Ollie Gordon had a great day. The offensive line had a great day. Casey Dunn had a great day, and the defense did a lot of really good things. Matter of fact, the defense did a lot of things in this game that were a lot better. They were a lot more competitive in this game than a lot of other games, and they were a lot closer. But again, just when it mattered the most, whether it be on third down or fourth down, they couldn't get off the field. 16-22 on third down, I think, is what it was for Texas Tech. And Texas Tech is a good offense. Don't get me wrong. Taj Brooks is going to be running the ball in the NFL. Baron Morton's a decent quarterback. He shouldn't scramble for 12 yards on third down and 11 from his own 7-yard line. That should never happen to you. And obviously the Texas Tech receivers are good, right? But you saw the talent on the field. That Texas Tech team that Oklahoma State played yesterday is not any better than OSU physically. And so it was very frustrating. And the end of the story is that Oklahoma State is still winless in conference. There was a lot of good, and I'm not going to lie. I love OSU football, and I had a good time yesterday. I had fun watching that game go back and forth. I had fun watching that game yesterday. I had fun trying to figure out what was going to happen next. I did not have fun with the results. And as you look at this, I think, you know, it hits you in the face really hard that as much fun as I had, as many good things that I saw yesterday, you're still 0 in conference. You're still 3-8, and you're looking at going to Colorado on Friday. And unless you pull up a massive upset, you're going to be 3-9, which is 1990. I mean, 1991, they tied Iowa State. They didn't lose 9. I don't think Oklahoma State's ever lost 9 conference games in a row. So just watching Coach Gundy's press conference yesterday, not going to pick it apart or whatever. I mean, by this time in the season, when the same things happened over and over and over, and you keep losing, I mean, there's really nothing else you can say, right? Other than maybe having a meltdown, which would have happened about week 4, week 5, kind of like similar to the meltdowns we've had on this channel. But then let's say you have a meltdown and you're still, 0-9 in conference. That only works like once or twice. So really you kind of run out of things to say. So kind of like Chase said the other day, you don't really watch Coach Gundy's press conferences to get a whole lot out of them. You just kind of watch to see if anything interesting comes out of his mouth, right? Which it does all too often. So yesterday, really not a whole lot that was interesting coming out of his mouth, other than the fact that at the end, he did point blank say he is going to be coming back next year. He has as much energy as he's ever had, and that everything is okay. I was all good. I don't know why it would be so hard for him. And you got to understand, I am a supporter of Coach Gundy. I believe that he is the man for this job. I want him to be the coach at Oklahoma State desperately because, in my opinion, a very hooked up Mike Gundy and a version of Mike Gundy is what is best for OSU. So I say all this under those pretenses that I don't know why it would be so hard for him just to come out and swallow some pride and just say, God, this has sucked. This is not okay. The last thing I wanted to hear as I was sitting in line at Wendy's waiting on getting a hamburger, okay, which the line was all the way back to Perkins Road last night. I couldn't believe it. The last thing I wanted to hear from my head coach is, it's all right. Everything's all right. No, everything is not all right, okay? You're going to lose Ollie Gordon. You're going to lose your entire offensive line. We don't know which quarterback's going to come back. We're going to lose all of our older receivers, right? All of them that made plays yesterday. I know Cameron Hurd had a catch, but Deshaun Stribling, Rashad Owens, Brennan Presley, gone, right? Tyler Foster, gone. Josh Ford is a good tight end. He'll be back. And then you have Rodney. So you had some young players. But the last thing I wanted to hear was, hey, it's okay. No, it's not okay. What I actually wanted to hear was, hey, I appreciate everybody coming, right? We're in a tough situation. The way this year went is not acceptable to any of us. It's not okay. And my job is to fix it, and I will do everything within my power to do so. So that brings you to what are the changes that you would like to see make? Hey, you have to lay this at the feet of Gundy. He handpicked this defensive coordinator. That is from our Rebels. 100%. It all goes back to the head coach. But I will say this. That's a good point. I think if you look at the track record of Mike Gundy, he has a very good track record of hiring coordinators. And so because of that, I think he gets a mulligan on this one. I'll say this, though. I think he hires guys like Nardo and Yurcich so he can become less of a CEO and become more of a micromanager. Coach Gundy needs to go out and get a defensive coordinator that will be autonomous to Mike Gundy. He needs to get a defensive coordinator that has experience, that if Coach Gundy tries to micromanage, will look at him and say, dude, as long as I'm your defensive coordinator, I'm calling the defense. I'm calling the shots on the defense. So get the hell out of here. And if you don't like that, fire my ass. He needs to go hire a defensive coordinator that will literally turn around and say that to Mike Gundy, which, hey, if you're confident and you feel like you have the ability to do what it takes to make your defense successful, then, hey, in those competitive moments, maybe not quite that blunt, but that's what needs to be said. Quit micromanaging me. I know what I'm doing. Matter of fact, as far as defense goes, I know what I'm doing more than you do, so I don't need your input right now. Okay, now having said that, you're the head coach. If you tell me that I have to do something, I have to do it, and I will, okay? And then I won't be your defensive coordinator next year, right? Like, I mean, Jim Knowles, we should have kept Jim Knowles. I think everybody agrees with that. So he needs to go get a coordinator that will stand up to him and not give a rat's ass what his opinion is. And if that defensive coordinator likes the advice he's giving, implement it. If not, do what you know to do for the defense. That is best. So he can't go get a guy that he can make a puppet, that he can control, that he can micromanage. He has to go get a guy that has experience, that will do his own thing and not allow himself to be micromanaged. Hey, Connor, if Daniels comes back, would you keep him at linebacker? Heck, no. I would not move him to safety either, okay? What I would do with Kendall Daniels is I would turn him into the next Jason Gilden. I would put that long old sucker out at defensive end. I would give him very few rules other than hi-hat, run, squeeze the inside gap, and then keep your outside arm free so you can chase down the fast flow. That would be rule number one. Rule number 2, low hat if you get that on run. Rule number 2, if you get high hat pass, then rush the damn quarterback and don't get too far upfield. I would move Kendall Daniels to a rush end, and honestly, I think he could turn into a Jason Gilden. I think he could be just a tremendous rush end. I think linebacker, for one, is too much of a game that makes him think. So he's having to read keys. He's having to read whether it's run pass. He's really having to read whether his back is getting, if he has back out coverage in the pass game. He's having to weigh that against, okay, are they making it look like back out pass game just to get me in the wrong spot so I'm not in the right place to play run? You have to be a level 4 learner and thinker and reactor. Level 4 meaning the highest level of comprehension, meaning you don't just, so like there's some guys that learn the playbook and they can tell you what the plays are and they can tell you what to do, but they have to think about it first, right? And then there's other guys that can actually apply it in game scenarios. So those guys that can actually apply it in game scenarios are what I call level 4 type guys. So I don't think Kendall Daniels is a level 4 guy. I think he's a guy that if you asked him, hey, Kendall, in film session, hey, Kendall, what were you supposed to do here? I think immediately he could tell you, well, I should have done this, that, this, and that. But while the game's going on, I don't think his reactions are such that he just does it in an instinctual way and in a way that he actually applies what he knows he's supposed to do. So only guys that can apply everything and I think your linebackers have to be the most, the guys that can apply all of the information the most on the field, right? And so I think if you move into rush in, I think you take all of those responsibilities away from him and you just give him a couple of things that he's supposed to do. And you say, hey, let's go get it. Let's go be the next Jason Gilden. Let's replace what we lost last year in Colin Oliver. And that's also a position I think Oklahoma State desperately needs filled, is that rush end. And so him and Jaleel Johnson, I think Jaleel Johnson out of Putnam City North, been seeing this young man for a long time. Matter of fact, let me get some video up on him just to kind of show you him, and we can get a good conversation on Jaleel Johnson. Let me throw him up on the board here. Okay, right here. Jaleel Johnson, I got him outlined right there. OSU's using him some at the D tackle position, but I honestly feel like that's Kendall Daniels there. Watch Jaleel Johnson right here. I honestly think that, see him right there, 95, get off his block. See how he's slender right there? I think that you could shape that body of Jaleel Johnson that we're seeing, 95 in your screen there, and you could make him a rush end. So the first place that I would look is if there's Jaleel Johnson again making a nice play. See how quick he is? Let me back that up and show you his quickness. See how quick look at that first step right there. See how then he bull rushes? Now look how good that rush is. Quick feet, gets off his block, throws his man down, and goes and makes a great play. I think Jaleel Johnson, I think OSU probably is going to bulk him up and make him a D tackle. But I think instead I would slender him up and I would make him a rush end. I mean, imagine him with that quickness coming around the edge against a tackle or whatever it may be. So my 2 rush ends next year would be Jaleel Johnson and Kendall Daniels. And I think that would create a pretty darn good pass rush on the edges. That's the first place that I would go. Hey, the Calvin Bunges, yeah. Hey, Sean Painter says hire a defensive coordinator that's allowed to bring his own assistants. That is a great point. I had a hot take this week about the fact that, in my opinion, you brought in a young guy to coach all the older guys that had already been here, and they were not on board with that. Hey, why are we having to listen to this young D2 guy who has an entirely different defense when we're coming off of a Jim Knowles stint that was absolutely fantastic? So I would totally agree with you, Sean, that bring in an experienced coordinator that if he comes in and he likes Tim Duffy and Joe Bob Clements and all these guys on the defense, then great, okay? Then have those guys be your assistant. But let him at least pick, so like maybe not every single assistant, but let him at least have a hand-picked couple of them, right, that can help him implement his new defense. And again, the big one to me is have autonomy over the defense and not get micromanaged. Don't allow himself to get micromanaged. So I think Jaleel Johnson, I think Kendall Daniels would be fantastic at the bookends. You have a bunch of young safeties, Dylan Smith and Cam Smith and all those guys are pretty young. And then also, how about, I wanted to give an appreciation comment to Parker Robertson. Parker Robertson is absolutely awesome. The defense, for what it's been terrible. And he's not the most athletic. He's not the biggest. And I'm not saying he's perfect. But I will say this, if every single defender in this OSU defense, and let's go ahead and get to Parker Robertson and throw him up on the board. I'm having to play kind of a game here with YouTube to get back and forth so they don't kick me off. So Parker Robertson, we're going to show right here. Watch, I mean, if everybody, see right there, boom, right in there, number 8. Let me back that up. Number 8, boom, right there. See that? If everybody played with Parker Robertson, this young man right here, if everybody played with his intensity and his effort and his, he plays for the front of the jersey. That front of the jersey right there says Oklahoma State. This younger man, number 8 right there, he plays for the front of the jersey. He doesn't give a rat's ass about the attention of the last name on the back of the jersey. He loves OSU the same way that you and I do. And because of that, I love Parker Robertson. He is one of my favorite players on this entire team. And in the face of this defense that just hasn't been very good this year, I wanted to say on air that I have really appreciated Parker Robertson, and I've appreciated all the effort that he has given this Oklahoma State team. I think everybody can learn from him just exactly what it should look like in terms of effort. So with young guys coming back, you got Jaleel Johnson, you might have Kendall Daniels, you got your secondary guys and Cam Smith and Dylan Smith. Of course, you're going to lose Corey Black, you're going to lose Trey Rucker, but you have some good young players coming back. Not exactly sure what you have at linebacker. You're losing Justin Wright. Nick Martin hopefully will come back next year, so that will be a big deal. Not exactly sure what you have up front. You're losing Iman Oates. You're losing Colin Clay. So you're losing some girth up front. So the defense does have some pieces coming back, but then again, there's also a lot of questions in terms of holes to fill. And I'll say this, I got a message today, and obviously I'll never give out names of messages from people that I get messages from, but from somebody who would have a pretty good idea. I think Oklahoma State could take as many as 30 kids out of the transfer portal, and I think that's a really good way to rebuild this defense this year for this next year is go out and go get – and don't go get guys from D1, D2, D3, that kind of deal. I love Obi Ezigbo. I loved Leon Johnson III. They were fantastic players. Leon Johnson was awesome. So, yes, you can find those guys that are diamonds in the rough. No doubt about it. But still, I think Oklahoma State needs to go out and figure out how much money they need to spend on getting difference makers, enough money to get difference makers through the transfer portal defensively. And then on offense, I think you need to fill your entire offensive line out with transfer portal guys. I think you need to go get guys that are plug and play right now. I think you need to go find, I think Cameron Hurd's fine at receiver. I think Talon Shetron can be the guy that can stretch the field and be the big physical guy. I think he is very, very good. And so I think King, Shotomade King could be a really nice player as well. And so you have some pieces coming back, right? But I think also OSU needs to go get a big-time receiver out of the transfer portal. They need to go get that 6'4" jump ball guy. They need to go get a Marcel Aitman. I think Talon Shetron can be the guy that can play kind of your Justin Blackman type role that does a little bit of everything, right? And then you're going to also have Gavin Freeman coming back that can play the Brendan Presley type role. Then you're going to have kind of in-between guys. I think Cameron Hurd can also kind of play that slot type receiver. And then Shotomade King can also be kind of a guy that does a little bit of everything. So I think Talon Shetron can be like the top taker offer plus the jump ball guy plus the guy that can post up and hit those little quick outs for the first downs. That guy that can do everything. And then you need to go find in the transfer portal a tall guy that can win jump balls. I think your running back position is good. I think Rodney Fields Jr. should be the starter next year. OSU needs to do whatever it takes to bring him back. Sesi Valahi's fine as a backup. He got better and better as the year went on. And then you get another guy like Trent Howland, and I think your running back room is fine. Quarterback room, I'll tell you this, I would not at all go get a transfer quarterback. Because, A, I want all three of these quarterbacks back next year, and I think it's very possible that happens because right now, as Milwaukee Smith played in his first start last night, if he goes and plays at Colorado, he enters this spring as the most experienced quarterback on the roster. Okay? Garrett Rangel, he's going to be the youngest, but yet the most game experienced. So there's a good case to make for all three quarterbacks going into next spring that any three of them could be the starter next year, right? And so because of that, if you're Mike Gundy, you can approach all three of these guys with, you have every chance to be the starter next year. Why go anywhere, right? And so because of that, I think Oklahoma State has a chance to keep all three. Now, if you go get a transfer quarterback that muddies those waters, then I think you're going to lose one of them. And is that transfer going to be any better than the three that we have on campus? Unless it's a guy that is, I would say no, because here's another thing, another reasoning for that. I think we need several defensive linemen out of the portal. I think we need several linebackers. I think we need an entire almost two deep offensive line. We do have some young, good offensive linemen. I think we need, but we need a lot of offensive linemen. I think we need a running back, a receiver or two. We need probably a couple of safeties. So it's going to take a lot of money to go in the transfer portal and go get a quarterback that likely isn't better than any of the three you have on campus, right? So my point is, take all that money that you would use getting a transfer quarterback and use it to go get linemen on both the offensive and defensive line, get you another running back, get you a really, really, really nice receiver, go get you some good safeties because, hey, safety play in this defense is so big. Go get you a couple of plug-and-play certified college football linebackers. Use all that money that you would spend on an expensive quarterback that might not be better than what you already have on campus to go fill out the rest of your roster, just like Brian Bailey's saying here. Put that money in the OL and the defense, 100%. The one position OSU doesn't need right now is quarterback. So don't go spend money on a quarterback. Spend it on the defense and your offensive line. Hey, Scott Swiden asked, by the way, what is the deal with Gilkey? I'm not exactly sure there. Connor, do we get another three-quarterback rotation? Yes. We're going to get a three-headed monster race again. And I say this all the time. Mike Gundy always seems like he always gets it wrong first, and he's not very fast to change. But in the end, we always end up with the right guy. And so the good thing about this one, though, I think the real good thing about this one is that Milwaukee Smith, Garrett Rangel, and Zane Flores are all three the same type of quarterback, right? And so whether one or the other are playing, like when you have Alan Bowman and Milwaukee Smith, you have two entirely different game plans, which is really difficult on everybody because that means everybody has to learn two different game plans, just not the quarterbacks, right? Whereas this three-headed monster, you're going to have one game plan, and no matter which quarterback is in, it's going to be the same plays, the same structures, the same everything. So, yes, while you have a different quarterback, nothing at all has changed for anybody else on the field. So I think that's a big factor. That's another factor why I think that the three quarterback battle will be a little cleaner than what we've seen in the past. Plus, I think all three of these guys, no offense to Gunnar Gundy, good player, but I think all three are better than Gunnar Gundy. I think all three are way better than Alan Bowman. And so you have an upgrade in talent and you have an upgrade in all three players, right? And then Garrett Rangel is a better – so let me kind of explain this to you. Garrett Rangel was one of the three that's in that competition, right? Well, I think the version of Garrett Rangel that we're going to have next year is going to be way better than the Garrett Rangel that we had 2 years ago during that quarterback competition. And then I think Milwaukee Smith and Zane Flores are going to be way, way better players than Alan Bowman and Gunnar Gundy. So you have better talent to pick from, and then they're all three the exact same. So, hey, Sean Painter says, we still get the Arkansas running back transfer back from injury. Yes. So there you go. So maybe we don't have to go get, if that being the case, you don't have, there's another position. And I'll tell you another thing about OSU. You can agree with this or not. But Mike Gundy's offenses, when they have good running backs and they have a difference maker at quarterback, and then they have really, really good receivers, they can win a lot of games with a lot of average everywhere else, right? And so if you look at this roster, you're going to have a really good quarterback. You're going to have a really good running back, my opinion, whoever it is. Rodney Fields, the Arkansas transfer, whoever it may be. You're going to have a really good running back. Talon Shetron is really good. I think Gavin Freeman's going to be really good. Shotomaye King has a chance to be really solid. So does Cameron Hurd. And then if you get one more really, really good Deshaun Stribling type transfer, you're back to having a great receiving core. And when Oklahoma State has a great receiving core, really, really good running back, especially one that's shifty like Rodney Fields, and good quarterback play, Mike Gundy's team's rock and roll, typically speaking. And so there's the silver lining to the way next year shapes up. Now, having said that, you got to get all these guys to come back, right? You got to get all these guys you got to pay them. You got to bring them back and get them back to Oklahoma State. So there's the silver lining to that. And then also, I don't know what you do on the defensive side of the ball. I mean, I don't think anybody has any real answers as far as that goes right now. I mean, who knows? It is just such a mess right now. I think it's closer than what it looks like, because I'm going to say this point blank, and I've watched a lot of video. I think there are just times with this defense that personnel-wise, guys either have mental lapses that aren't acceptable, or they just don't have Division I effort being given. And that has absolutely blown this defense up at the wrong times. So go get guys that play with the right amount of passion, that play with the right amount of effort and execution every play. Make your offense like it was Saturday, and then just try to put a plan together that makes your defense okay. And I think you're right back to being in a position to where if you win the close games instead of losing them, you have a chance to be back in the Big 12 championship game next year, which is also why I think Oklahoma State fans need to not just automatically assume, because this year has been so bad, that they need to give up on the regime and they need to not buy tickets and all that. 1 year from the next in today's climate of college football does not. Now it can. I mean, it certainly can. But we've seen that you can flip the O-line a chance no matter who they are. You've got to severely limit the RPO. Run the ball or throw the ball. Don't handcuff the offensive line. I don't mind the read option type plays, and I don't mind reading like the one drop player, but I do agree with you that there are times to where, so like whenever that happens, right, and you're reading, say, a 9-tech, that freezes that 9-tech. So this goes to your point, Scott. That freezes that 9-tech because that 9-tech knows he's getting read, and if he attacks the mesh point, the quarterback's going to pull it and make him wrong, right? Okay? So once you froze, this is what the Oregon Ducks have done, especially under Chip Kelly so many times for over the years. Once you get that 9-tech kind of frozen because you've been reading them all night, that's when you hand it off to your back going wide or up the middle, and he's not a threat like we've seen him be this year. So I don't think you eliminate the RPO at all. I think you use it, all in all, I think you use the RPO to slow down pass rush. I think you use the RPO to keep 9-techs from just chasing down, because if you don't use RPO at all, then at that point, your conflict players on defense, they're either playing run or pass, and now either way you're outnumbered. So you need to use the RPO to keep it in the back of your defense's mind, whether it be the 9-tech or the half player safety. Those players, those are the guys that either outnumber you or allow you to outnumber them, right? So what the RPO does, it allows you either way, whichever way that they decide to play it, to theoretically give you a half number advantage. So I think you need to run the RPO to continue to give yourself that half number advantage. And then also off of that, once you get them paralyzed a little bit after reading them, then go to some of those Oregon Duck fast flow plays and beat them to the corner that way. So, hey, let me clarify. And fine with read option, yes. And then also some of the pass options off of it there. But the O-line run blocking for run plays, yes, run block, yeah. And the problem with the RPO is what Scott's saying is that whenever you're running RPOs, the offensive line can't release and scrape down to backer because you only get 2.5, 3 yards. And if the quarterback pulls it and throws it, then they're down illegally downfield. And so like what we saw yesterday, as a matter of fact, let me go ahead and play this and kind of show you exactly what Scott's talking about. And let me get to this right here. Some videos, okay, video clips. Let's go to OSU Football 2024. Let me show you exactly what Scott's talking about right here, okay? And let me get to 1 second here. This is a little bit clunky because I am by myself, so give me just a second here, and we will get to exactly what Scott is talking about, I think. Let me get actually to, yeah, right. Let me see if this one right here has it, okay? So this right here is exactly what, well, not necessarily. That's not exact. That is Cole Birmingham, but what he's talking about is these offensive linemen right here, they don't have to worry about getting downfield. They can maul, they can move their feet forward because they're not worried about a forward pass coming out of that. Let me actually back it up and show you what I was wanting to show you here in Preston Wilson. And then right here, actually Wilson and Mahalski. Let me go to Mahalski and get Mahalski to show you what an RPO does, or not having an RPO can actually, how it can help. Okay, so right here, watch right here. See how he scrapes the backer right there? That's Joe Mahalski. Okay, so imagine that being at midfield right here, right? Okay, so right now, Joe Mahalski, there is a double team between him and Preston Wilson right there at the point of contact. Well, if it's an RPO, say an RPO slant here to Rashad Owens, well, then they have to stop their double team right there. And Mahalski, as you saw, that climbed to linebacker, he can't climb like that because he's liable to be downfield, right? And so that RPO plus a zone game is very difficult because now the big part of zone, oh, I'm sorry, I'm not showing the play here. Let me back that up. Okay, let me put that back over. So right here, Joe Mahalski, Preston Wilson, double team right there. Now watch Mahalski climb back up to linebacker right there. Okay, so if that's an RPO, then Mahalski's not able to climb because this might end up being a zone pass to Rashad Owens. And if it is, then he's illegally downfield. Now imagine that being at midfield. Whereas if this is just a run play, see how your receivers are blocking, everybody's blocking, being a run play, now Mahalski's able to climb to the second level and clobber the linebacker. That is just typical zone blocking. You double at the point of contact, you scrape the linebacker. And what Scott's saying, which is exactly correct, is that when you're running RPOs, it's much harder to scrape the linebacker or even blow your man off the ball on your double teams because you're so worried about going downfield, which is why he's saying, hey, either run the ball or throw the ball. And I keep cutting out is what everybody's saying. We're not getting to be out. I just my mic is messing up is what everybody's saying. Okay, well, I don't know why that would be, but let me get to my program here. Okay, it may be because I'm turning my head, but anyways, yeah, so sorry about the video there. Again, I'm by myself, so sometimes that's clunky. So I kind of want to show you there what Scott's talking about. It's how you don't climb to second level, you don't drive off the ball because you're worried about being downfield. But hey, this has been a great crowd. I'm going to go ahead and log off here and get to some Sunday night and enjoy my Sunday night. But hey, we're going to do this each Sunday night, whatever time I get to it, and we're going to have some video and all that. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in.